Welcome to Beyond the Paranormal, your gateway to the strange and unexplained. Explore the world of paranormal activity, parapsychology, cryptids, haunted locations, and mysteries. From ghostly encounters and supernatural investigations to legendary creatures hidden in the shadows, we uncover the stories that blur the line between science and the unknown. Cryptozoology. Cryptozoology is the study of animals whose existence has been suggested through anecdotal reports, folklore, historical accounts, or limited physical evidence, but which has not been formally recognised by mainstream science. The term derives from the Greek word krypos, meaning hidden, zoon, meaning animal, and logos, meaning study, literally meaning the study of hidden animals. The creatures investigated by cryptozoologists are known as cryptids, a term encompassing animals whose existence remains unverified despite persistent claims and sightings. Since its emergence as a distinct field during the 20th century, cryptozoology has occupied a controversial position between folklore, natural history, anthropology, and zoology. Supporters argue that the discipline continues the long tradition of scientific exploration by investigating reports of unknown species. Critics, however, contend that cryptozoology often relies upon anecdotal evidence, misidentification, and pseudo-scientific methodologies. Despite these criticisms, cryptozoology remains culturally significant and continues to capture public imagination through books, documentaries, tourism, and popular media. Historical origins of cryptozoology. Human societies have long reported encounters with unusual creatures. Ancient civilizations frequently described animals that blurred the boundaries between reality and mythology. Many creatures once considered mythical were eventually found to possess a basis in reality. For example, reports of giant squid inspired legends of sea monsters. Encounters with gorillas may have contributed to stories of wild men inhabiting forests, and fossils discovering likely influenced myths of dragons and giant beasts. Ancient Greek scholars such as Herodotus and Pliny the Elder documented accounts of unusual animals, though they often mixed observations with folklore. During the Middle Ages, bestiaries contained descriptions of both real and imaginary creatures, reflecting limited scientific understanding of the natural world. During the Age of Exploration, European travellers encountered numerous unfamiliar species in Africa, Asia, Oceania, and the Americas. Animals such as the platypus, the acompe, the giant panda, and the mountain gorilla were initially regarded with skepticism by many scientists. The discovery of these previously unknown animals later became a central argument used by cryptozoologists. They contend that if large species could remain unknown to science until relatively recently, other undiscovered creatures may still exist. Modern cryptozoology is most commonly associated with Bernard Heuvelmans, often referred to as the father of cryptozoology. In 1955, Heuvelmans published On the Track of Unknown Animals, which systematically examined reports of unexplained creatures worldwide. Rather than dismissing eyewitness testimonies outright, Heuvelmans argued that consistent reports from independent observers deserve scientific investigation. His work established many of the principles that continue to guide cryptozoology research today, which includes collections of eyewitness accounts, analysis of folklore, examination of physical traces, investigation of unexplored habitats, and comparison with known animal species. What is a cryptid? A cryptid is any animal whose existence has been suggested but not scientifically confirmed. Cryptids generally fall into several categories. Unknown species. Animals that may represent entirely undiscovered species include Bigfoot, Yeti, and the Mongolian deathworm. Surviving extinct species. Animals believed extinct but allegedly still living in isolated regions, such as the Mekele-Mbembe, the Thylacine sightings, and living plesiosaur claims. Out-of-place animals. Known animals observed outside their expected geographical ranges, such as phantom big cats in Britain, alien big cats in North Americas, and unexpected reptile sightings. And legendary creatures with possible biological origins, creatures emerging from folklore that may have roots in genuine animal encounters, include sea serpents, giant birds, and lake monsters. Major types of cryptids. Hominid cryptids. These cryptids resemble humans or primates. Examples include Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is perhaps the world's most famous cryptid. Sightings occur primarily in the Pacific Northwest of North America, despite evidence such as footprint casts, air samples, audio recordings, photographs, and eyewitness reports. No conclusive physical specimens have ever been obtained. Also, the Yeti is reported throughout the Himalayan region, particularly in Nepal and Bhutan. Scientific analysis of alleged Yeti air samples has generally identified them as originating from bears or other known animals. Lake and aquatic cryptids. The Loch Ness Monster, often called Nessie, is one of the most famous cryptids in the world. Sightings have been reported in Loch Ness since the 6th century. Numerous sonar investigations, underwater searches, and photographic analysis have failed to provide definitive evidence. The Ogopogo is a lake monster reportedly inhabiting Okanagan Lake. Many sightings may be explained by waves, floating logs, or optical illusions. Living dinosaur cryptids. The Mokele Mbembe is alleged to inhabit remote regions of the Congo Basin. Proponents suggest it may represent a surviving dinosaur lineage. Scientists consider this highly unlikely because no fossil evidence supports recent survival and extensive ecological evidence is absent. Flying cryptids. Mothman became famous following reports in Point Pleasant during the 1960s. The creature became associated with local tragedies and paranormal beliefs. Many researchers suggest sightings involve misidentified birds combined with social panic and media amplification. And also thunderbirds originate primarily from indigenous North American traditions. Some modern sightings involve claims of giant birds far exceeding known species dimensions. Marine cryptids. Throughout history, sailors reported gigantic sea creatures. Some examples are sea serpents, where sailors report seeing long serpentine bodies, humps above the water, and creatures with large heads. Many sightings may have involved creatures such as a giant squid, or may be explained through optical distortions. And also the kraken, which emerged from Scandinavian folklore. Modern zoologists generally believe legends were inspired by encounters with a giant squid, demonstrating how cryptozoological claims can occasionally have genuine biological foundations. Methods used in cryptozoological research. Cryptozoologists employ various investigative techniques, including eyewitness testimony. Witnesses' reports may be the most common source of information. Researchers analyse consistency, geographical distribution, behavioural descriptions, and historical patterns. However, memory distortion and perceptual errors limit reliability. Physical evidence. Investigators see air samples, footprints, scat, bones, feathers, and tissue samples. Most alleged cryptid evidence has ultimately been identified as originating from a known species. Environmental surveys. Researchers explore remote habitats using trail cameras, drones, sonar systems, DNA sampling, and geographical mapping. Environmental DNA has become particularly important because it allows scientists to identify species from genetic traces left in water or soil. Scientific criticism of cryptozoology. Lack of verifiable evidence. The primary criticism is the absence of reproducibility evidence. Science requires physical specimens, repeatable observations, and peer-reviewed analysis. Most cryptid claims fail to meet these standards. Reliance on anecdotal reports. Eyewitness testimony is vulnerable to misidentification, suggestion, memory errors, and cultural expectations. Psychological studies demonstrate that sincere witnesses can still be mistaken. Confirmation bias. Cryptozoologists are often accused of emphasizing evidence that supports a preferred conclusion rather than disregarding contradictory information. This tendency can reduce scientific objectivity. Ecological improbability. Many proposed cryptids would require substantial breeding populations to survive. For example, a large mammal such as Bigfoot would likely leave behind bodies, bones, DNA evidence, feeding traces, and ecological impacts. The absence of such evidence proposes a major challenge. Despite criticism, cryptozoology has occasionally contributed positively to zoological research. Reports of unusual animals sometimes motivate scientific expeditions into poorly studied regions. Several animals once thought extinct were being rediscovered. Examples included the coelacanth, the takahe, and the ivory-billed woodpecker. These discoveries encouraged continued investigations of unusual wildlife reports. Cryptozoological research preserves indigenous traditions, oral histories, local folklore, and regional legends. This documentation provides valuable material for anthropologists and folklorists. Cryptozoology and popular culture. Cryptozoology has become deeply embedded within modern culture. Examples include television documentaries, podcasts, films, video games, tourism industries, and internet communities. Locations associated with famous cryptids often attract substantial tourism, such as Loch Ness, Point Pleasant, and the Himalayan regions associated with Yeti traditions. Cryptids function as modern myths that blend mystery, exploration, science, and folklore. Cryptozoology represents a fascinating intersection of zoology, folklore, anthropology, psychology, and popular culture. While mainstream science remains skeptical due to the lack of verifiable evidence for most cryptids, the discipline continues to attract widespread interest because it addresses a fundamental human question: whether unknown creatures still inhabit the unexplored corners of the world. The history of science demonstrates that some animals, once dismissed as legends, were eventually discovered and classified. Nevertheless, most famous cryptids, including Bigfoot, the Yeti, and the Loch Ness Monster, remain unsupported by convincing physical evidence. Consequently, cryptozoology occupies a unique position between scientific inquiry and cultural mythology. Whether viewed as a legitimate search for undiscovered species or as a study of human belief and storytelling, cryptozoology continues to illuminate humanity's enduring fascination with the unknown. You've been watching Beyond the Paranormal. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe for more videos on the paranormal, haunted locations, cryptids and many more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.